Hi, grade. Hi, grade 5. Good morning. So today is the start of our unit 3 crossing borders. Okay. So for today's asynchronous day, our lesson is in lesson 1, all for one, one for all. Okay. Our first lesson is about recognizing words with vowel digraphs. So what is vowel digraph? It is the spelling patterns in which two or more vowel letters occur successively, making only one vowel sound. So when the two letters are sounded as one. For example, we have the digraph AI. It has two sounds. So we have the long A as in rain and the short E as in said. Okay, it has the AI here and the AI here. Some examples for the sound, the long A sound as in rain, we have braid, plane, and train. For the short E sound as in said, we have hair, layer, and pair. Okay. Another digraph is the AU. Okay. It has this symbol as in caught. Okay. It makes your mouth go like this. Caught. It's an ow sound. Caught, ow, caught, caught, ow. It has the ow sound. Okay. So example is applause, because, and loud. Okay. Applause, because, and loud. Okay. We also have the digraph EA, and it has two sounds. The long E sound as in bead, and the short E sound as in bread. Okay. For some examples for the long E sound as in bead, we have freak and reveal. For the short E sound as in bread, we have some examples like dead, thread, and trend. Another digraph is the double E. It has the long E sound as in speed. Okay, some examples we have breathe, creak, and sleek. Okay, another digraph is the EI. It has three sounds. The long A as in sleigh has the A sound. Long A sound. Okay, we have the long E sound as in receive. Receive. And we also have the long I sound as in height. I, long I, height. Okay. For examples of the long E sound as in sleigh, we have lay and wait. For the long E sound as in receive, we have ceiling, conceive, and deceive. Okay. For the long I sound as in height, we have fright and height. Okay. We have some more over here. For the digraph IE, we have two kinds of sounds. We have the long I and the long E. The long I as in pie. Here are some examples. We have fiery, lie, and tie. For the long E sound as in sheaf, we have some examples here, like believe, field, peace, and shield. Okay. We have another digraph, which is digraph OA. It has two sounds. We have the long O and the ow sound. Okay. Long O as in road. Okay, here are some examples: load and moat. We have the ow sound as in the O sound as in soar. O sound. Oh, soar, soar. So we have board and broad. We have the digraph OI. OI as in oil, the oil sound. Okay. For example, we have broil, spoil, and toil. We also have the digraph double O sound, as in book, book, and as in cool. It sounds as this, cool. The U, the short U sound, cool. Book, book, and cool. Okay, so some examples here. We have brook, cook, and stood, stood. And for cool, we have food, scrooge, and spoon. Okay, we have the digraph OU as in out, and the long O as in so. Okay, for this one, we have couch and south. Okay, and the long O as in so, we have boulder, okay, and though. And lastly, we have the digraph UE as in blue. Okay, okay, we have clue, crew sound, and sue. It has the U sound. Okay. Here are some here is an example. The words from the global village finally arrives. Our story for this week. We have easily, gourmet, looking, and sound. So where is the vowel digraphs here? For easily, you have the EA, which has the long E sound, easily. Okay, we have the gourmet, the OU, looking, double O, and the sound OU also. We have here some words also from the global village finally arrives story. Okay, so how do we say this name, and what is the vowel digraph? For this, for the one in the purple box, we have the AI, and you sound it as remain. Remain. Okay. For this one on the yellow box, we have AU, and you sound it as restaurant. Okay. And for the blue box, it's the double E, and you sound it as street with long E sound. And lastly, we have UE, and you sound it as values. Our next lesson for today is about making headings for paragraphs. What is a heading? It's a word or group of words that serves as a title for a set of related ideas. Giving a heading is like giving a title to a story. When giving a heading for a paragraph, you need to think of three things. First is to read and understand the ideas presented. Then we have to identify their reaction and similarities. And lastly, you have to think of the most appropriate word or words to title them. Okay, let's read this paragraph from the story The Global Village Finally Arrives. This is a typical day of a typical person in today's world. I wake up to the sound of my Japanese clock radio and put on t-shirts sent to me by an uncle in Nigeria. On TV, the morning news is in Mandarin. On the radio, the results of the baseball game are in Korean. I walk out into the street past German cars to my office. The street has a Spanish name. Around me are English language students from Korea, Switzerland, and Argentina. For lunch, I can walk to a sushi bar, a tandoori restaurant, a Thai cafe, or a burrito joint run by an old Japanese lady. Who am I? Sometimes I wonder. And where am I? Okay. Okay. Let's read this heading here. A typical day for an ordinary person today. Do you think that this is an appropriate heading for this paragraph? Okay, that's right. Because in this paragraph it talks about a typical day for an ordinary person. So it matches. It's the appropriate one. And you um you can back that up from this sentence in the first sentence in this paragraph. This is a typical day, a typical person in today's world. Okay. Another example from the same story is the second paragraph, which is, I am the son of Indian parents. I'm British citizen who spends much of my time in Japan. And now I am in Southern California, but I could just as easily be in Vancouver or Sydney or London or Hong Kong. The whole planet, you might say, is going global. More and more of the globe looks like America, but America itself is looking more and more like the rest of the globe. A common multiculturalism links us all. Taxi and hotel and disco are universal terms now, but so are karaoke and yoga and pizza. For the gourmet, there is tiramisu at the local Burger King in Kyoto, pasta in Saigon, and enchiladas on every menu in Nepal. For this paragraph, what do you think is a perfect heading for this? Do you think it's everybody is going global, food around the world, or the Americans around the world? That's right. It is every day is going global. As you can see here on the okay, as you can see on this previous slide, the it says here how you can back it up. It says here the whole planet, you might say, is going global. Let's do this together from the same story on paragraph 3. News, clothing, food, and even languages are moving across borders in the diversified world of the 21st century. But not only these things are mingling. In Brussels, one new baby in every 4 is Arab. In Japan, one can rub shoulders with Iranians, British, Pakistanis, and Filipinos. When people move around the globe, cultural values go with them. New immigrants from Taiwan, Vietnam, and India impart values of hard work and family closeness to Americans, while at the same time America sends its values of upward mobility and individualism to Taipei, Ho Chi Minh City, and Mumbai. What do you think is the appropriate heading for this paragraph? Is it being global in everyday life? Is it culture values among countries? Or is it news, clothing, food, and languages? That is right. The answer is the cultural values among countries. How were you how were able to know that this is the answer? Okay, we can back it up with this here. When people move around, globe cultural values go with them. Okay, and says different kinds of countries where people are in those different countries imparting their values of hard work. Okay. Now, let's have our last lesson for today. It's about distinguishing enumeration text types. What are text types? It may be classified according to their organizational patterns or structure. We have different kinds, so we have enumeration, problem and solution, compare and contrast, sequence, and cause and effect. But for today, we're going to focus on enumeration. Example, a typical day of a typical make person in today's world may consist of the following activities. First, he wakes up to the sound of a Japanese clock radio. Then he puts on a t-shirt sent by an uncle in Nigeria. He watches morning news in Mandarin on TV as he listens to the radio announce the results of the basketball game in Korean. After that, he walks out of the house into the street past German cars to his office. For lunch, he goes to a sushi bar or a Thai cafe. As his day ends, he takes a taxi to a friend's place, has dinner, and finally goes back to his flat. Okay, so this passage was came from the story. They just made it look like made it to look like an enumeration text type. Okay, here are words that will what we call enumerations that will give you what we call enumerators that will give you an idea that it's an enumeration text type. So we have first, then, after that, and finally. Okay. So I will show you um, a diagram that you use um, to group the phrases into to group the phrases to organize an enumeration text type kind of passages. Okay, so first on top will be the general subject. Next, below it, we'll connect the details from that enumeration text type. And lastly are the enumerators. So the ones that I encircled a while ago. Okay. So for this text type, for this enumeration text type passage, okay. So the general subject of this is a typical day of a typical person. So here are the details of that. Wakes up to the sound of a Japanese clock radio. The activities, okay. Puts on a t-shirt sent by an uncle in Nigeria. Watches morning news in Mandarin on TV as he listens to the radio announce the results of the basketball game in Korean. Takes a taxi to a friend's place, have dinner, and finally goes back to his flat, goes to a sushi bar or a Thai cafe for lunch, and walks out of the house into the street. Okay, so these were the activities mentioned. Um, under activities mentioned on the passage that says that this is a typical day of a typical person. Okay, and finally, the enumerators from the passage is the one that I encircled a while ago, following first, then after that, and finally. So that is how you will know that it's an enumeration text type. Okay, so for your seat work, do page 217, exercise 1, about recognizing words with vowel digraphs. Do the next exercise, the next seat work on page 219, exercise 3B, about making headings for paragraphs. And for your homework, do page 222, exercise 4, about distinguishing enumeration text types. Okay, for your advanced work, it will be posted on 3Q week 2 on Thursday or Friday. Okay, so that's the end of our class, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you on Monday. Bye.